Why every army refuses to face the US Navy. The reason will shock you. Every army on Earth trains for war. They rehearse tank battles, urban combat, air assaults, missile strikes. But there is one fight almost no army wants to face head-on. Not because it's illegal, not because it's impossible, but because history, strategy, and cold mathematics all point to the same conclusion. Facing the US Navy directly is how wars are lost before they begin. This isn't propaganda. It's not Hollywood, and it has nothing to do with one ship or one weapon. It's about control of oceans, supply lines, airspace, trade, and escalation itself. And once you understand why the US Navy dominates all of those at the same time, you'll understand why armies hesitate, delay, bluff, or avoid the fight entirely. The ocean is not neutral. Most people imagine the sea as empty space. A blue gap between nations. A place where nothing happens until ships arrive. That belief is dangerously wrong. The modern ocean is one of the most heavily monitored, mapped, and contested environments on Earth. It is layered with sensors, satellites, listening arrays, patrol routes, data cables, and invisible boundaries that never appear on maps. And within this vast, moving battlefield, the United States Navy maintains a level of permanent presence no force in history has ever achieved. While most armies prepare to fight at borders, the US Navy fights in the spaces between borders. It operates in shipping lanes that carry global trade, around undersea cables that move the world's data, through narrow choke points that funnel energy supplies, and across deep water regions where detection itself becomes a weapon. Even space is part of this domain, with satellites feeding maritime intelligence and guiding naval operations in real time. Long before a crisis becomes visible on land, the Navy has already studied how that nation survives. It knows where fuel arrives, how ammunition moves, which ports matter, and which routes cannot be replaced. Radar coverage is charted. Submarine patrol patterns are logged. Satellite vulnerabilities are noted, and blind spots are quietly remembered. So when an army finally realizes it is under threat, the danger is no longer theoretical. Its supply chain is already fragile. Its lifelines are already exposed. The battlefield has been shaped without a single shot being fired. The aircraft carrier myth. Critics love to repeat one phrase: aircraft carriers are big targets. It sounds logical. It sounds modern. And it is almost completely irrelevant. A US aircraft carrier is not simply a ship. It is a floating system of systems. A mobile airbase that moves faster than most armies can reposition. A command hub capable of coordinating operations across continents. A logistics node that brings its own fuel, weapons, maintenance, and medical facilities. In effect, it is a nuclear-powered city that happens to launch warplanes. But the carrier itself is never alone. It moves inside a living shield made up of destroyers, cruisers, submarines, aircraft, satellites, and electronic warfare platforms. Every layer exists to detect threats earlier, respond faster, and confuse enemies long before weapons are launched. A single carrier strike group can quietly control hundreds of miles of airspace. It can sustain continuous air operations for weeks without touching land. It can jam radar, distort sensors, and strike inland targets with little warning. And most importantly, it can relocate constantly, making prediction harder than destruction. This leads to the most misunderstood truth of naval warfare. You never fight the carrier directly. Any force that tries quickly finds itself facing escort ships designed for missile defense, submarines designed for silent pursuit, aircraft designed for interception, and cyber systems designed to blind command networks. By the time an enemy believes it has located the carrier, the engagement has already unfolded elsewhere. Seeing the carrier is not the start of the battle. It is the end. Submarines, the invisible killers. If aircraft carriers represent visible power, submarines represent fear. They are the reason generals sleep poorly and planners speak carefully. The US Navy operates the most advanced submarine fleet ever built, and much of what they do remains deliberately unseen. Modern American submarines are quieter than ambient ocean noise. They move faster than most weapons designed to chase them. They carry torpedoes, cruise missiles, intelligence systems, and special operations capabilities, all wrapped in platforms designed to remain invisible for months at a time. Some of these submarines are not built merely to sink ships. They are designed to erase command structures, to sit near coastlines undetected, to monitor fleets without revealing presence, to sever undersea communication cables that entire nations depend on without even realizing they are vulnerable. An army can field enormous numbers. It can parade tanks, mobilize divisions, and project strength on land. But if its ports become unusable, if fuel shipments stop arriving, if data cables go dark and coordination collapses, none of that mass matters. The war ends without an invasion. No beaches stormed. No cities captured. Just silence, confusion, and paralysis. Logistics. The war you never see. There is a brutal truth that history repeats relentlessly. Armies do not win wars. Logistics do. And no force in the world understands this better than the United States Navy. Nearly 90% of global trade moves across oceans. Food, fuel, ammunition, spare parts, medicine, the physical backbone of modern civilization floats. That reality gives naval power a leverage that land forces can never fully counter. In a major conflict, the U.S. Navy does not need to invade. It can enforce blockades quietly, intercept shipping selectively, deny access to critical choke points, and disrupt ports without occupying them. Even the perception of naval risk can drive up insurance costs by 300–500%, reroute commerce, and choke economies faster than bombs. Factories slow, then stop. Fuel becomes scarce. Maintenance is deferred. Training halts. Morale erodes. An army that cannot move, refuel, or replace losses becomes static, and static forces do not survive long in modern war. Time becomes the Navy's deadliest weapon. The sky belongs to the Navy, too. Air power is often associated with air forces. That distinction no longer holds. The U.S. Navy operates one of the largest and most sophisticated air forces on the planet. Carrier-based fighters, long-range surveillance aircraft, electronic warfare platforms, drones, and space-linked systems operate as a single integrated web. During the Gulf War, naval aviation flew 30% of all combat sorties, while operating from ships that never touched land. In many conflict scenarios, naval aviation establishes air superiority before land-based air forces can even deploy. Fighters launch from carriers already positioned near contested regions. Surveillance aircraft map defenses continuously. Electronic warfare platforms suppress radars and communications. Once air superiority is lost, everything else follows. Armor becomes visible. Bases can be tracked. Troop movements are exposed. Missile systems struggle to function in disrupted sensor environments. An army that cannot protect its skies is not fighting for victory. It is fighting for survival. Electronic warfare. The war before war. The most shocking realization for modern military planners is this. The U.S. Navy does not start wars with explosions. It starts them with disconnection. Before weapons are fired, radar is confused. GPS signals degrade. Communications fragment. Cyber intrusions spread quietly through networks. Sensors begin to disagree with each other. Missiles miss targets they should not. Orders arrive late, or not at all. Maps stop matching reality. Drones vanish without explanation. Entire units find themselves isolated, not because they were destroyed, but because they were blinded. This phase of conflict often goes unnoticed by the public. But in war games, it consistently determines outcomes. Once the Navy dominates the information environment, conventional forces unravel faster than planners expect. The battlefield collapses from the inside out. Global reach without permission. This is the strategic nightmare every army confronts. The U.S. Navy does not need nearby bases. It does not require permission to operate. It does not depend on allies to sustain itself. It carries power, fuel, aircraft, command infrastructure, medical facilities, and ammunition wherever it goes. That means there is no true rear area, no secure coastline, no guaranteed sanctuary where forces can regroup safely. An army can fortify borders and defend terrain, but it cannot defend every ocean at once. War games don't lie. Behind closed doors, joint military simulations reveal a consistent pattern. When armies face the U.S. Navy, supply lines fail early, communications degrade rapidly. Air defenses are saturated or bypassed. Decision-making slows as information becomes unreliable. Command structures fragment under pressure. Even in scenarios where the Navy loses ships, it still achieves its primary objective. It denies the enemy the ability to fight coherently. That is the fundamental difference. The U.S. Navy does not need to destroy armies. It only needs to make them irrelevant. Why no one wants to test it? This is why no major power openly challenges the U.S. Navy head-on, not because it is invincible, but because the cost is catastrophic. The escalation is uncontrollable, the outcome is uncertain, and the damage is global. China's naval strategy explicitly avoids direct confrontation, focusing instead on anti-access, area denial within the first island chain. Russia maintains token naval presence, but prioritizes submarine asymmetry. Regional powers invest in coastal defense, not blue water fleets. A naval confrontation risks economic collapse, worldwide trade disruption, political instability, and escalation far beyond conventional war. No army wants to gamble its nation's future on a battle that unfolds across oceans it cannot fully control. The real reason. So why does every army refuse to face the U.S. Navy? Because it is not a contest of soldiers versus sailors. It is a fight against time, distance, visibility, information, and logistics. And those are battles armies were never designed to win. The U.S. Navy does not conquer land. It removes the ability to resist. Silently, gradually, relentlessly. If this changed how you see modern warfare, if you now understand why oceans decide the fate of nations, subscribe. Because the most powerful weapons on Earth do not always explode. Sometimes, they simply make resistance impossible. Like this video for more deep, fact-driven breakdowns of military power, strategy, and the hidden mechanics of war. And comment below, do you think any Navy could realistically challenge the U.S. at sea in the next decade? Stay sharp, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next story.